Thanks for joining us today on the Todd Allbaugh Show, live for Friday, January 10th, TGIF. Today we have a packed show. We have Brady Ewing, former NFL fullback and three-time Big Ten champion with the Wisconsin Badgers here in the first hour. And then in the second hour, we're going to have Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez on to talk about the new legislature that just got sworn in our state.
Now, wait a minute. Is this our show? Yes, it is, actually. It's just nice to, usually.
Just sounds good.
Sounds good. That'd be something I might want to watch.
Also, of note, so we have a little over 2 minutes till we start the show. If you are watching the recording and want to zoom ahead. If so, why? But you could. Andrew and Maine texted in just after Matt and Air on air, but because the top of the hour had switched over, the text came to us, and it says, "Thank you, Miss Jane, for making the drive in and entertaining and informing us all morning long. Not to mention being the one of the few with nice things to say about Todd." Tell us more. Are people saying mean things about Todd?
I wouldn't be surprised. And those are just my fans. I wouldn't be at all surprised, as my granddad used to say.
Rather mild today, with high temperatures flirting with 30 degrees. Spotty snow showers are possible throughout the day, only putting down a trace. With some sunshine expected early tomorrow, we will see more snow pushing in overnight and through Sunday. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently, it's 28 degrees.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
Here's what the WSJ had said after J6. This week has probably finished Donald Trump as a serious political figure. Boy, that hasn't aged well, has it?
No, not at all. In the Wall Street Journal. So after what they just said 4 years ago, Maggie, they couldn't bring it upon themselves to say that guy who did that shouldn't be anywhere near the White House again. Nope, couldn't do it.
The Maggie Dawn Show. Weekdays from 2 till 4 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app.
Ever tried balancing a dozen eggs in one hand while hopping on one foot? Or maybe juggling cats while riding a unicycle? Sounds ridiculous, right? But guess what? That's exactly what texting while driving is like. Your human brain only has the capacity to focus on one thing at a time. So when you're behind the wheel,
about
give
30
driving
seconds.
your undivided attention.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with our outstanding producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 12 noon on this Friday, TGIF, the 10th of January, 2025. Welcome in. We made it, Mr. Zommers, to the end of the week. Been a long one in so very many ways, but here we are. How are you doing?
Here we are. Doing well.
Good.
And looking forward to a couple days off.
Yeah, absolutely. I know some people work over the weekend, and people have different schedules. But yes, for those of us that work Monday through Friday, it'd be nice to get a couple of days off. We have our big holiday party for this region of the state. They've broken it up into regions, and we fall into the Madison's us, our great friends back at WRCO, WRCE, and Richland Center, and then our great people at Baraboo as well. So it's those three folks, those three stations coming together for a little holiday cheer. And I understand it is at an arcade.
It is at an arcade bar.
Not in an adult arcade. That'd be an entirely different kind of Christmas party or a holiday party.
Like Pong, Pac-Man, skee ball, pinball, all that stuff.
Right. So Luke Mathers has challenged me to Pac-Man, which wasn't, I was actually around when they created that.
You think you can beat him?
I think maybe. I wouldn't say that about too many things, but I think maybe. My friend Jeff Daniels and I, his parents owned the baseball card shop at the old Westgate Mall. And there was a huge arcade in there back in the day, back in the 80s. And no one was better at Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man than Jeff Daniels. I tried to learn from him, but yeah. So I'll see if the old hands of the joystick still work. So that's what's coming up this weekend.
I've never played it on an arcade cabinet because we have a Nintendo and an NES, an old Nintendo Entertainment System, and we had Pac-Man on that. So I got to play it at home, but on a little, rectangle controller, not with a joystick, and it is very different.
It is. You gotta have the hand skills. So that's what's coming up for us this weekend. Hopefully, all of you have a great weekend as well. Speaking of sports, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, who pretty much literally and figuratively threw away a game earlier up at the barn in Minnesota earlier this week against Ohio State. They're making their way down on the PJ Fleck bus to the Kohl Center here in Madison, and Wisconsin men taking on Minnesota. Pregame time is 7 o'clock, and pregame time 5 o'clock, and then I think the actual game starts around 6:37. It gets confusing when I've only got the pregame time, but we'll figure it out. You can hear this game on Amory station, or a station in Amory, Wisconsin Rapids, Racine, Kenosha, and of course the old home station back in Richland Center on WRCE. Don't live in one of those communities? No worries. We got you covered. Just download the Civic Media app on your Apple or Android device and tune in to either Amory, Wisconsin Rapids, Racine, Kenosha, or Richland Center, and you can hear that game for free. See, we don't charge anything here on these things. There's no subscription fee. There's no recurring thing where sign up for the first 5 weeks for free and then it'll start charging. No. You download the Civic Media app. It's one of the few things in life that's free. It's fantastic, and you can hear Matt LePay and Brian Butch call Wisconsin, Minnesota tonight at 5 o'clock. So that's fantastic. And then, of course, I've got for those watching on the stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, do we stream on Blue Skies, Amers?
I don't think they offer that yet.
All right, very good. I have my Green Bay Packer shirt on today, my sweatshirt, because, of course, the Packers, our Green Bay Packers, traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Packers, the number 7 seed in the NFC, traveling to the number 3 seed against the Eagles. That one I can tell you, game time is 3 o'clock on the Fox television network. You can hear the pregame show via the radio at 1 o'clock. And the stations carrying that are the FM side, RCO in Richland Center, Park Falls, and Racine, Kenosha. Sadly, that one we cannot stream because the NFL has lots of rules. we can't do that. But it's going to be a great game. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. As Albert said earlier, big show today. We have our friend and ongoing contributor, Mr. Brady Ewing, 3-time Big Ten champion with Wisconsin Badger, former captain of the team, and then spent 3 years in the NFL. Brady will be along to talk and preview a little Packers football. See if there's a article we're going to get to. If you had to make a Mount Rushmore of Wisconsin athletics, who are the 4 people you put on it? We'll ask Brady, maybe solicit your calls and opinions as well, and then talk a little sportsmanship with Brady as well.
I am very interested to hear who he'd put on his Wisconsin sports Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, he has a lot of insight on that. And then after the top of the second hour, 106, very honored, our Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor, Sarah Rodriguez, makes a return to this program. She's been on a couple of times, always a fantastic person. And, of course, she and I have a connection to Richland County. I was born there, and I believe one of her sets of grandparents were dairy farmers in Richland County. So it's always a lot of fun talking to her. She'll be along talking about Governor Evers' 2025 outlook, budget. We're going to ask her a couple of things going on in politics. Might get to how do things in D.C. affect us here in Wisconsin. And we'll get her Packer prediction as well, because, Sarah Rodriguez, she's no stuffed shirt lieutenant governor, you understand. She's one of these cool people that knows what the heck's going on. She's a Wisconsinite. She's a Wisconsin. She's a cheerleader for our state. So very, very honored to have Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez with us in hour number 2. And then what's worse as well to end the week. And it has to do with personalities. Which is worse? And I know this one affects me pretty well. It hits right, for people who know me, it hits right to the heart.
Yeah, me too. Todd and I are similar in this way.
this way, yeah. So a huge show today. Really appreciate you all being along. Scott in Madison on WMDX asks, the tilt What is the name of the arcade? Oh, it's a Q&A or Q&I, IQ.
IO.
That's it.
Because it's like the power switch for a game or an electronics. Like you have the I, which is on, and then a slash, and then the O, which is off.
See, I grew up with an Atari, and we just had an on-off switch. There's no IO.
Fair enough.
Yes, I'm old. So yeah, great. So there, IO Scott, great folks down there. Stop down and say hello. Andrew,
I don't know if you can. We may be renting the place out. I am
it's a
uncertain.
private event. All right. Well, I mean, stop down anytime though. They're great. It's a great place to go play games. It's on Willie Street.
And yeah, it's on Willie Street. So
Yeah.
if you do stop by and it turns out you can't go in,
Right.
there's a lot of other places to go.
But come back another day is what I'm saying. Andrew, I'm trying to drum up some business here. You understand? Andrew in Maine says, "Are they intentionally keeping Jane and Todd separate?" This is fantastic. Are they intentionally keeping Jane and Todd separated for the holiday parties, given their prevalence to always compete? This is a great take by Andrew in Maine. I don't know. I don't know that. I think it stemmed from the fact that, I mean, God love our leadership people. They're trying to keep, this is a large company statewide. They're trying to keep everybody happy. And it's just, so I don't want to drive to Madison. Well, I don't want to drive to Eau Claire. And, it's like, okay, well, so they broke it up so that people don't have to drive so far.
But maybe this is the secret reason.
But maybe Andrew is on to something. Because, Jane and I have had these text to income. And it's a friendly competition, you understand? But yes, Jane is not only is she gifted and a talented broadcaster and a lovely person to travel around the state with in the month of June, and a fantastic connoisseur of Broadway music like myself, she has a competitive streak. That's why she's so successful.
And why, while we have won so far every time, it's been really increasingly close.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time until she topples us. And good for her, because, like I say, she's a good. So I think Andrew is on to something. Maybe they've decided to keep us. Wouldn't it be fantastic if out of the blue on Saturday night, Jane just appears?
They just start playing Barracuda.
As she comes in and beats me at Pac-Man. So there you go. That's what I've got. That's what I've got to say on that. Len and Madison. I will get to that in a minute, I guess, a little bit. Yes, there is some serious news going on, so we'll get to that here before the bottom of the hour. Big news, of course, breaking in the last hour or so. The sentencing hearing for former president, now also President-elect Donald Trump. He was sentenced about an hour and a half ago, but as expected, without penalty in the New York hush money case this morning. After a symbolic and historic and unprecedented hearing following the first felony conviction of a former and soon-to-be sitting president. Judge Juan Marchand spoke to Trump for several minutes via video conference, telling the president-elect that it was the office of the presidency and not the occupant that was afforded extraordinary legal protections, requiring him, the judge, to impose a sentence of unconditional discharge without any punishment. Trump chose to speak before Marchand imposed his sentence, showing zero contrition and launching into some attacks against a quote-unquote political witch hunt. And he says he's been claiming since he was first indicted more than 20 months ago. Trump was convicted back in May of 34 counts of falsifying business records. While he has vowed to keep fighting the conviction through the appeals court process, today's sentencing cements the fact that Trump will be the first convicted felon to become president 10 days from now. So, to put it down when the chickens could get at it, Trump gets away scot-free. That's the bottom line. And
Did we expect anything different?
the only thing I thought maybe Marchand would do is give a sentence, whether it's a monetary fine or jail time, but most likely monetary, that would be suspended. Say, well, here's the sentence, suspended for 4 years until you're no longer president. At least keeping open the possibility that he might face some consequences. But no, Marchand just says, we're affording the office of the presidency this. I guess if I take all of the emotion out of it and the partisanship, maybe I understand from a legal perspective why you do this, but I'll be honest, it's pretty hard to. I think he should have at least imposed a monetary fine that was suspended, or say this is basically here's the fine that a quote unquote normal non-president person would face, but we're going to suspend that until after you're out of office.
Again, he did these things while not president.
Correct. But we move on. That is again, that is the breaking news there that Donald Trump will face no consequences for his 34 convictions in federal court. When we come back, going to update you on the tragedy that are the Los Angeles fires, what's going on out there, and how you can help. Don't go anywhere. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Friday on January 10th on Civic Media. Hey, Tom, if you're LA Tom, if you're watching on YouTube there, totally up to you. But if you do want to call in and give us just a brief update what you're seeing here today, you're welcome to. So just let you know that.
Let's talk about it. Meal planning will save you money.
On a completely different topic, we talked about Pac-Man, and Jeff Perry messages in Inky, Pinky, Blinky, and Todd.
There you go.
Arguments we have in my house about what's for dinner. A writer of a recent Reader's Digest article said that she saved herself $500 a month on meal planning. I mean, we all eat differently, but those are some real savings. I know, meal planning can be a pain. So I reward myself with a treat while I plan. A beer, some ice cream, maybe a recipe magazine. And in my house, the planner does not have to be the shopper. That's real motivation. For more everyday money tips, check out workmoney.org. Till next time, this is Carrie Joy saying, take good care.
Attention. If you suffer from consistent pain in your joints caused by arthritis, overuse, or injury, you may be a candidate for a revolutionary therapy that could revitalize damaged tissue. This approach can provide long-lasting relief from pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, and other joints with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. To find out if you're a viable candidate, you may request a free consultation from QC Kinetics by calling 608-384-0897. Instead of masking the symptoms, it goes to the root of the problem to resolve it at its source. Already used by thousands of satisfied patients nationwide, this joint pain therapy is available right now to the public, but only for qualified candidates.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Now 21 past the hour of 12 noon on Friday, January 10th. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll lighten things up a bit. Talk to you, three-time Big Ten champion with Wisconsin Badgers. He spent 3 years in the NFL. And all around, just good guy. Brady Ewing going to be with us here at the bottom of the hour, previewing the Green Bay Packers, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Who would Brady put on Wisconsin Athletics Mount Rushmore? And also sportsmanship, something he knows a lot about, talks to a lot of, in particular, high school kids, young people around Wisconsin. And what does he have to say on sportsmanship and shaking hands? That's the issue, shaking hands. We'll get that from Brady after the bottom of the hour news break. And then in hour two, Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez. So big show here today. Want to just spend a couple of minutes, as we did so appropriately yesterday, talking about the tragedies in Los Angeles. According to CNN at this hour, more than 150,000 people have now been told to flee as 4 Los Angeles fires rage. Add to that, there appears to be accidental evacuations warned. Try that again, Todd. Accidental evacuation warnings, accidental ones, that were sent to millions of people, and now officials are trying to fix phone alert systems. So can you imagine being in the greater Los Angeles area, knowing that many of these evacuation warnings are legit, And then, millions of people get this. We heard earlier from folks who were there that it's already a panic mode in some places, and the LA freeways and roadways are snarled already in normal times. Imagine this sort of panic, and we've seen it on TV, particularly in the Palisades area, other areas around that, just north and west of downtown Los Angeles proper, more the Santa Monica area, where when these fires come through or get close, people are just abandoning their cars. They're stuck in traffic, and in order to try to get out, they're just abandoning their cars. And one of them, I forget who the actor was, who was helping clear this, said, look, if you're going to abandon your car, leave the keys in them so we can move them off when we come through to get fire trucks through. Because what they're doing now is they're taking snow, like what we would call snow graders, and moving cars that way. So my heart just goes out to folks. L.A. Tom, who joined us yesterday, said that, this is exactly what we want, that those false alerts were corrected within 4 minutes. So see, that's the value of having people on the ground out there, because I'm reading the headlines off of CNN, and it's telling me this. Tom also says people need to be aware of their surroundings. So right. And when the legit warnings do come, obviously, to heed those warnings. It's just heartbreaking to hear these stories. Here's just one of them. It says, more than 100 years, the Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center has been a pillar of faith and community. But as winds drove down the Eaton fire closer to the temple's campus, cantor Ruth Berman Harris said she felt called to the temple. Quote, I found myself at one of those moments when you don't really feel, but you know what's the right thing to do, and I just do it, she said. Harris and her husband raced to the temple determined to rescue the Torah scrolls before the fire consumed them. Together, they worked with a congregant and a staff member to remove the scrolls from the sanctuaries, as well as a few other, quote, crucial ritual objects, and loaded them into her car. Then the temple lost power, and the air became thick with smoke. That's when Harris said they knew they had to leave. She said, I checked with my husband. I couldn't see him. There was so much smoke. I just said, do you have all of them? She said, referring to the Torah scrolls. After the Eaton fire may have destroyed the temple's facade, Rabbi Jill Gold Wright vowed that it would not shake the congregation's faith. She said they still plan to hold the traditional Friday Sabbath service, or a Shabbat service, and will even celebrate a congregant's bar mitzvah. Quote, we are doing something very Jewish, which is both grieving and being optimistic for the future, she said. We are a resilient people. We have a long history of resilience. We have a long history of carrying out our Torah wherever we need it to be, and this evening will be no different. A story of both sadness, but right, that resilience. And again, in these tragic situations, look for the helpers. Look for the people to do the right thing, to help each other. Again, Tom in LA chiming in on YouTube, and we appreciate that. He says, we all got that the false alert, but people need to calm down, in my opinion. He also says people propaganda on this issue has spread like fire themselves. The bottom line is, with the winds calming down, we will be all okay. It's all about three things: a match, wind, and dryness. And I've heard that, and thank you, Tom, once again, for giving us on-the-ground factual reporting. And I've heard that from other people on the ground via other programs I've been keeping track of. I've seen video of this. And look, I've never been out there, thank God. I've been out there a lot in my life in Los Angeles, but never during really one of these terrible, terrible weather events. But I've been there for some pretty high winds, but not like this. I mean, these Santa Ana winds, some of these are going 70, 80, 90 miles per hour. And the fire kind of, you've seen the fire kind of goes up some of these palm trees, and then that, palm trees, they kind of, the leaves, the branches die, and they kind of fall down, down towards the trunk. And so you look at a palm tree and all the green on top, but then underneath that's all this brown stuff. That's dried foliage. Well, these sparks hit on that, And then so some of these palm trees become torches. And then you have an 80 or a 90 mile an hour wind slam into that. It's like a fire torch that just spreads it throughout this neighborhood. And Tom's, again, he's obviously knows 100 times more than I do being there on the ground. But that's really what's causing this. These unprecedented winds along with the dryness. And again, as more factual information comes out, despite what Trump world is putting out, which is untrue, which is they're out of water, it's the pressurization. It's the fact that there are so many people that need water all at the same time because of this unprecedented weather event, and that's making it difficult to get the water that is there up to the higher elevations. Zombers, we posted yesterday on the show notes where people, legitimate places to help. We'll do that again today, please. Places like World Food Kitchen and
Yes,
the like.
the list is also on Time Magazine.
All right, very good. Come on back, talk with Brady Ewing after this, lighten things up a bit. Sportsmanship, the Green Bay Packers, and a Mount Rushmore for the Badgers. Back after this in the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
In a global marketplace, exports are essential to make sure that our farmers can turn a profit. I'm Stephanie Hoff for the Midwest Farm Report, along with you midday on a Friday. And today we visit with Bryce Windecker. He's a dairy broker and agent with Everegg. That's EVER.AG online. Bryce says dairy export numbers have painted an optimistic picture, but it needs maintenance to stay strong.
Yeah, dairy products are still moving. On the last export report, we shipped out another 87 million pounds of cheese. That's a very good mark. We're going to have to continue that, at least that amount of cheese every month to remain our market copacetic. Mexico's been buying a lot of different commodities, whether it's been cheese, non-fat dry milk, and a lot of corn ahead of the new Trump administration and any potential tariffs.
Bryce Windecker, along with us. He's a dairy broker and analyst with
That's from
Everegg.
LA Tom.
Stick around. We'll take a look
that's
at what commodity
incredible,
prices
Tom.
are doing, including fluid milk, next.
Jeez.
There goes Pam Yankee across Wisconsin in her suburban truck. Thanks to Equity Livestock Cooperative, marketing your livestock,
Thank you for sending that,
financing your
Tom.
operation, and supporting the livestock community since 1922.
That
and
is
to
scary.
Cleary Building Corp. Cleary Building Corp. Built with pride before the Shamrock
Oh,
is
he's sent
applied.
a few videos.
Explore
I'll take a look at it. Yeah, we'll take a look at it
later.
But thank you very much. Appreciate it.
MidwestFarmReport.com and on Facebook and Instagram.
Giving back. It's at the heart of the
And maybe,
Wisconsin farmer. And it starts with supporting
tomorrow
the
we could probably
backbones
put
of
some of
our
those together and
community.
show 'em
That's
if we
why the
want to.
Wisconsin
Very
Soybean
cool.
Marketing Board invests in soy foam for our firefighters. Soy foam TF 1122
I
is
guess
the
tomorrow's
first and
Saturday.
only
Oh, it's
firefighting
Monday.
foam green screen certified at the gold level. As a PFAS-free firefighting foam, it's safe for you and the environment. A safe future for your community. Thanks to your soy checkoff. Learn more at wisoybean.org.
Grain markets are mixed. Friday from Chicago, cash corn is up a penny at $4.57 a bushel. December new crop corn is down 3/4 cents at $4.46 1/4. Cash soybeans are up 3 1/4 cents, trading at $10.02 1/4. November new crop beans are up a half a penny at $10.14 1/4. Cash wheat is 6 cents lower at $5.28 a bushel, and July new crop wheat is down 6.5 cents at $5.48 1/2. Class 3 milk contracts are pushing lower
We have that
today.
cut
The
from the
February
South Dakota
contract
State
down
Coach.
a nickel
Yep.
at $20.87
Not
a
South
hundredweight,
Arizona
and the
State.
March contract is down 7
Either way, I
cents
have it.
at $20.52 a hundredweight. Just because it's the weekend, it doesn't mean that farm news has to stop. You can follow along with the Midwest Farm Report around the clock through our smartphone app. Download that for free at thefarmwi.com. I'm Stephanie Hoff.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
Mostly cloudy and rather mild today, with high temperatures flirting with 30 degrees. Spotty snow showers are possible throughout the day, only putting down a trace. With some sunshine expected early tomorrow, we will see more snow pushing in overnight and through Sunday. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently, it's 28 degrees.
Is your computer so slow you can hardly use it? Does it have blue screens, malware, viruses, reboots, hardware crashes? Sound familiar? Computers will have problems, and when they do, you need the computer experts at Madison Computer Works. Every day we help home users and businesses keep their computers and networks running smoothly. For solutions to your computer problems, call the pros at 231-8000, and we'll turn this into this. Madison Computer Works. Computers that work for you.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
I drew my brother's name one year, and we went to the mall, and I said, hey, while you're in there, grab me a Christmas card. We're doing the gift exchange later. So he walks upstairs, gets the card, hands it to me. I sign it, Merry Christmas. Love, Pete. And that was my gift to him. And I made him pick out, pay for, and retrieve. He's like, you are the laziest, cheapest. It was absolutely beautiful.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8 on your local.
When I think about you, I think about 17. I think about my OG. I think about the stars in the sky. Funny how a melody sounds like a memory, like a soundtrack to a July Saturday night. Springsteen.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network on this Friday, TGIF, January 10th, 2025, 34 minutes past the hour of 12 noon. That means that it's time to talk to former number 34, fullback of the Wisconsin Badgers. He won 3 Big Ten championships, went to 3 Rose Bowls, was a captain of the team along with Russell Wilson and others his senior year, started off as a walk-on, finished as a scholarship player and captain of the team, and then spent 3 years in the NFL with Atlanta and Jacksonville, respectively, and now joins us from our mutual hometown of Richland Center, Mr. Brady Ewing. Brady, how the heck are you?
I'm doing good, Todd. How are you?
Well, I'm fantastic. Been a little while since we chatted on the show, at least. Yeah, Christmas, we had New Year's, lots going on. I know you and your lovely wife Rachel have 4 boys. Did they have a good Christmas season? Did Santa bring what was required? Are they happy campers?
Definitely did. Yeah, it's been a great holiday season. Just unplugging a little bit from the day to day and refocusing on family, both Rachel and the boys, but also extended family, and just enjoying the time outdoors. Got to do some different things that you typically wouldn't because there was no snow,
right?
And weren't able to do other things that you might have expected or wanted to do when if there was snow. But,
no sledding, not much sledding right now in the old RC.
No, there's not. Maybe after this weekend. Looks like we're supposed to get an inch or so. But it's been a great holiday. How about you?
Yeah, I can't complain. I was up in the neighborhood a little bit, hanging out with Mom a little bit. Was helping out our mutual friend Phil Nee and those folks at WRCO in Richland Center with Trivia-thon on New Year's Eve. So that was a lot. Saw one of our mutual former teachers, Ken Theed. Always that guy is like a walking encyclopedia. He's just a great guy. Was a great coach as well. I know.
Yeah, absolutely. He was on the morning show, I think, prepping for the Trivia-thon and talking some history. And I don't know if he had notes in front of him, but just, man, the amount of facts that he spits out just fluently, not even missing a beat, it's pretty darn impressive.
Did you ever have him for class?
I did, yeah. He always kind of terrified me a little bit, I'll be honest.
I guess only because I was, manager of football. I was around him a lot that way. So I knew that some of the growling and looks were more for just, he wasn't really that bad. But he's just so fast. I had him for Wisconsin history. And although my grade wasn't great, I learned a lot.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, he's a great teacher and likes to keep you on your heels a little bit. Make sure he's in the driver's seat, which is good.
Right. The big line was always, keep it clean. so
anyway.
All right. I'm not sure if Brady, the Packers better not have clean uniforms after Sunday's game, or it's going to be a very long offseason. I'm very, very nervous about this game. Let's talk a little bit about it. You spent 3 years in the league yourself. Number 7 Packers, the NFC, traveling to Philadelphia to take on the number 3 Eagles there. Kickoff time on Fox Network Television, 3 o'clock. You could hear the game, though, on radio. Yes, right in Brady and I's hometown, Richland Center on WRCO. Also up in Park Falls and in Racine, Kenosha. Pre-game time set for 1 o'clock on the Packers radio network. Brady, breaking news in the last 10 minutes here, according to CBS News in Philadelphia, Eagles QB Jalen Hurts has cleared NFL protocols and, quote, he is, quote unquote, according to the team, ready to roll for the Packers game.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, Brady?
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I'm a little worried, especially I wasn't as worried about it as a Packer fan deep down. But then once they released that Hurts cleared the concussion protocol and is back in the fold, I mean, I enjoyed the heck out of watching him. He's such a good quarterback, got good vision, just a great athlete. And then you pair that up with Saquon Barkley in the rushing attack that he's been this year. And I think the Packers are going to have their hands full, but really anything can happen this time of year. And you saw it in some of the games this past weekend, notably the Lions game, just the level of intensity ramp up this time of year in college football playoffs and the NFL is tremendous. And it should be hopefully a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping it is too. I mean, one of the stories I'm looking here on Sports Illustrated, the Eagles' offensive line. So you talk about Saquon Barkley, who had 2,000-yard season. But get this, and you'll appreciate this, is the heaviest in the NFL. The line for the Eagles tips the scale at a combined 1,688 pounds.
Holy cow!
That's a lot of human in front of you.
Yeah. You talk about guys just getting downhill and asserting their will on people. I mean, those are big human beings that are built and trained to move people around. And that's hopefully the defensive line of the Packers can stay stout and put some different stunts up there to keep them on their heels a little bit.
And I know when you played for primarily Coach Bielema at Wisconsin, you were a fullback. So, you got some love and got to carry the ball a little bit. But oftentimes, you were the guy doing a lot of the blocking for some of the bigger star running backs on the team. But you guys were known at Wisconsin at the time. Wisconsin, yes, had great running backs, great fullbacks, but also just had a great line and you were part of that at times that opened the holes for these guys.
Absolutely. And while you were saying that and throwing out the actual figure of the Philadelphia line, I know there was a stat about that back when I was at UW and the total weight of the offensive line at the time, because we had Josh Oglesby, Gabe Karimi, John Moffitt, Bill Nagy, Travis Frederick, just guys that, all pretty much went on to have some sort of a pro career, pretty extended.
Yeah.
But that's, you take pride in that. And when we talk about Wisconsin football and, I know there's a change in offensive coordinator now, but that's the history where any big offensive lineman in the country, maybe if you're a left tackle, you like dropping back into a pass set and doing some pass protection. But for the most part, you want to run the ball and you want to assert your will on other people. I think that was the culture that Wisconsin had built and attracted those guys that, were the best of the best. And interestingly enough, quite a few of them were from the state, or at least from the Midwest.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was Alvarez's. We're going to get to Wisconsin in a minute, but, Alvarez's theory better than anybody else. I think it was pretty much, held on to, at least through Bielema and Christ, of drawing a line around Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota, but really making that border of Wisconsin and trying to recruit the best guys there and then build out from there. Times have changed, but let's get back to the Packers for a second. Not only do the Packers defensive line have to worry about breaking through and getting to Jalen Hurts with all that human in front of them, as you say, but on the Packers side of the ball, boy, I want to talk about this for a second because watching the game on Sunday, Christian Watson went down, wasn't even hit, went down with a torn ACL. No one knows what that is like more than you, Brady. You literally went through that in the NFL.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Like you said, I've been through that journey and just that whole process. So anytime you see somebody go down with an injury, it stinks. But when I see somebody go down with an ACL, since I've lived that firsthand, it just makes my knee ache, but my heart ache too. And it's a long road. But honestly, you've seen him deal with different things in the past. Clearly, he's got the mentality and have the support around him to go out and get better. And as long as there's not a ton of collateral damage with other ligaments and a ton of meniscus and things like that in there, and I'm not sure what his situation is, but they're pretty standard nowadays. ACL surgeries, the recovery process takes time, can be painful, takes a lot of work, a lot of focus, but no doubt he'll probably be back out there next year. Maybe not right at the beginning of the season, but first half of the season, I would imagine, if everything goes to plan.
And I think what you said, and again, we want to be careful we don't read too much into this. I know our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens, has been following this with the facts as well. But there was some thought because of injuries earlier on for Watson that there may be some other damage within there. Again, we don't want to speculate too far. We hope that's not the case, but we wish him all the best for Christian Watson in his recovery there with that torn ACL. Other big news, of course, out of the game on Sunday. I mean, my goodness, Brady. The Bears of all people, really the Bears. And but I mean, in seriousness, first you have Jordan Love get what appeared to be some kind of a funny bone tweaked and there's numbness. So they put in Malik Willis. Then Malik hits his thumb or something on a guy's helmet in that cold. He can't throw, loses the ball. And I mean, boy, I'm really, LaFleur's been kind of cagey about saying that Love is, on schedule more. Those are my words. But boy, if we don't have one healthy quarterback, boy, I'm nervous.
Yeah, it's tough. And honestly, Willis, we talked about this months ago when he had to step up and fill in after they had picked him up. The way he's come in and filled in, I thought he's done a really, really good job, especially early in the season. To see him go down after Love goes down was tough. But those nerve things are interesting. Back in college, I had, you hit your funny bone. I think everyone's probably done that. But I had an issue where it was like chronically inflamed. And I had to have a brace that kept my arm straight so that I didn't put additional stress on that nerve while I was sleeping and to try to calm it down and get the inflammation out of there. But yeah, that impacts the sensation of feeling that you have, which is so important as a quarterback. And I don't know exactly what Love had happened, but impacts that kind of that pinky finger, ring finger, at least for me, primarily, and you lose feeling, lose dexterity a little bit. And as a quarterback, you would think if it's something similar to that, it would be really tough to grip, hold the ball, especially in this type of cold weather that we have right now.
Did you ever play at Philadelphia during your time?
We did. I was on injured reserve at the time and was traveling with the team, so I got a chance to be in the stadium and kind of take in all things Philadelphia leading up to that game.
Are they as nasty of fans as we hear?
Honestly, they're probably some of the more passionate ones.
Passionate. See, that's the difference between Todd and Brady. I call them nasty. Brady goes, no, they're just passionate.
They're passionate.
They're passionately dropping F-bombs and cups on us, but other than that, they're fine. Zommers?
No, I remember them being... Go ahead, Zommers.
What I always hear as the joke is after a game in Philly, you never know if they won or lost because there's a riot either way.
Brady?
Yeah, I didn't see that, but I just remember there being a ton of energy in the stadium, and I don't even remember if we won or lost, and it was a good game. But when I think of nasty fans, I more go to some of the experiences I had, like at Michigan State is one that jumps out to me. Yeah, they're right up on top of you on the sideline, calling you every word under the sun while you're sitting on the bench trying to get coached up by your coaches.
Well,
being serious. So
they're a little salty because you stole a Rose Bowl from them. So I mean, there was that.
Hey, that was the game they had the Hail Mary to beat us though earlier in that season.
Right,
so,
right, yeah,
yeah. That was a crazy one.
Talking to Brady Ewing. Ewing, three-time Big Ten champion with the Wisconsin Badgers, spent 3 years in the NFL. Predictions for the game, Brady, on Sunday. Again, the Packers taking on the Eagles. You can hear the pregame show on select stations on Civic Media at 1 p.m. in Richland Center, Park Falls, Racine, and Kenosha. It is on TV at 3 o'clock on Fox. Any predictions, Brady Ewing?
Yeah, I hate to say, I think the Packers are going to go down by 7 points is my prediction.
Ooh.
And I haven't even looked at the spread. You know what that's at?
I actually don't. I'm going to, as much as my gut says don't do this, Todd, I'm taking the Packers by a field goal because this new field goal kicker, that is the one bright spot. If the defense can hold them and we can win it as time expires on a field goal. So there you go.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. And we should reconvene on it and see where we're at next time we chat.
All right, we certainly will. We're going to take a break here in a second, but when we come back, going to ask Brady if he had to choose 4 people to put on the Badger Mount Rushmore Hall of Fame, who would it be? And also sportsmanship, one of the things he talks about as he travels Wisconsin, talking to our youth all across the great state of Wisconsin. Brady Ewing, Todd Allbaugh, Aaron Zommers. It's the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media, on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Oh, Springsteen.
Great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
Are you ever questioning when life will slow down? Are you ever thinking of just relaxing and enjoying the simple things? All of this is possible, even
Eagles
while
are
still being
favored
in the
by
workforce.
5.5 points.
Worthington,
Well, see,
Minnesota
right there.
is a
Thank
town
you.
growing, yet it's nothing like metro life. Professional and labor jobs, a beautiful lake, bike trails, recreation, acres of public hunting, festivals, and great people.
According to
Slow
CBS
down.
Sports.
We're just a short drive
I'll
away.
accept
So
that.
come join us. Worthington, it's worth a look.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed automatic voter registration into law in December of 2020 to begin in January of 2023. Pandemic, technical, and bidding delays ensued, but preparation for voter registration at the DMV and other state agencies has finally begun. The New York State Board of Elections approved a resolution in December 2024 authorizing the state's Department of Motor Vehicles and other state agencies to create voter registration forms and transmit that data to the Board of Elections database. The new system allows citizens to opt out of voter registration, but will otherwise register or change registration information during official transactions. Gotham Gazette reports that both the implementation of automatic voter registration, or AVR, and online voter registration, or OVR, were delayed as technical staff was diverted for pandemic-related IT projects. While the delays are frustrating, getting it right is critical. Early adopter Oregon recently discovered flaws in its very successful AVR system, with evidence that ineligible citizens and non-citizens were accidentally registered during state transactions. The state is in the process of a system-wide audit. Brennan Center for Justice finds AVR has increased voter registrations from 9 to 94%.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show, the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along with us. It is 9 before the hour of 1 o'clock. Coming up in hour number 2, Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, Sarah Rodriguez, will be here talking a little politics, what's new in the legislative session, get her pick for the Green Bay game on Sunday against the Eagles. And then we're going to have a What's Worse for you in hour number 2 as well. Right now, we are honored to talk to our friend and ongoing contributor, Mr. Brady Ewing, 3-time Big Ten champion with Wisconsin Badger football team, former captain of the team as well, and spent 3 years in the NFL. Brady, as a former Badger, there was a great story here a little while back. It was at buckysfifthquarter.com. And I guess before the break, I kind of missaid it. I said in all of Wisconsin athletics. But the actual question is, who is on Wisconsin's all-time coaches Mount Rushmore? So recreating Mount Rushmore, there's 4 people, of course, 4 former presidents. But if you had to make a Mount Rushmore for all-time coaches on Mount Rushmore, who would it be? They suggest at buckysfifthquarter.com, Barry Alvarez, of course, for football, Bo Ryan for men's basketball, Bob Johnson for men's hockey, of course, has won now 7, or pardon me, Bob Johnson, the father, who won 3 national titles between in 73, 77, and 81. And then he went to the NHL and won a Stanley Cup in his first year with the Penguins. And then, of course, his son, Mark Johnson, who has won 7 national titles with women's hockey. So according to Bucky's Fifth Quarter, they say Alvarez, Bo Ryan, Bob Johnson, Mark Johnson. Brady, if you were making the Mount Rushmore for Wisconsin all-time coaches, who would it be?
So you threw me a curveball because I was jotting down some notes at the break, and my mind went to football and players. But
then do it that way. Yeah.
I can answer your question, though, first. So the only one I have on my list of coaches there, if you're rattling them off, that's different, is I did have Mark Johnson, Alvarez, Bo Ryan, but then Kelly Sheffield. I know he's a current active coach, but you think about what he's done with the volleyball program here of recently, winning a national championship. Not 7 of them, but maybe a little premature to get him up there while he's still active. But from a player perspective, for the football team, ones that jumped out to me were Ron Dane, J.J. Watt, Joe Thomas, and then I threw a little curveball with Jim Leonard, which I think he's more than deserving, but I just think he encapsulates everything Wisconsin football had been historically, from a walk-on perspective to be an All-American, and his pro career coming back and coaching. That was my list there. Any others that jump out to you?
I think that's really good. Of course, I might add maybe a fifth and put you up there, just because that'd be a lot of fun.
Gosh.
But here's one. So as far as coaches, I don't disagree with buckysfifthquarter.com too much. Alvarez, Bo Ryan, Mark Johnson. Look, I think Bob Johnson was fantastic, winning 3 national championships in men's hockey and then going on to NHL. But the guy who always gets overlooked is Ed Nuttycombe, who was the track and field coach at Wisconsin for 30 seasons. And no coach in Big Ten sports history at any level, at any sport, had guided a team to more championships than a remarkable 26 championship trophies for teams coached by Ed Nuttycombe. And the track and field team kind of it's not a sexy sport. It doesn't bring in the revenue, but by God, I've seen those athletes, how hard they work. That's a remarkable record, Brady.
Oh, that's unbelievable. And being at the University of Wisconsin, Paul Lanier, who was a classmate of mine here at Richland Center and a dear friend, still is, and had the chance. He was on a track scholarship down at Madison the same time I was, and Coach Nuttycombe was his coach and recruited him, and so I got to interact with Coach here and there, and then hear stories from Paul. But absolutely, you could not. I couldn't disagree with that. He's just a tremendous coach and has the track record to prove it year in and year out.
Fun exercise. Brady, just a couple minutes left. I want to get to this really quick because over the last week or so, Coach Rick Pitino, now at St. John's, has told his team he doesn't care anymore if they participate in the handshake line at the end of the game. But last week at the Peach Bowl, when ASU, Arizona State University, took on Texas, some of his players for Coach Kenny Dillingham at ASU just were going to walk right to the locker room after they lost that tough loss against Texas. They made him turn around and shake hands. This is what he said in the postgame.
After the game, you went and there were some guys walking off the field, and you went and kind of circled them back toward the middle of the field and some guys on the bench. What were you doing there?
Yeah, you lost the game. Doesn't mean you just get to leave. Like, you shake hands. That's what you do. That's sportsmanship. So nothing more than, if we would have won, you shake the team's hand. You lose, you go out there, and it's not fun, but that's part of life.
ASU coach Kenny Dillingham. Brady, about less than 2 minutes left. I know you talk to youth all over the state of Wisconsin in athletics. People can find you at Instagram and the other socials and get in contact if they want you to come talk to them. But talk a little bit about what Coach Dillingham said there.
Yeah, I mean, he's 100% right. And I think it applies to all levels. And I am fortunate enough to coach some of my kids and teams in the community here. And, not only the other team and players is it stressed that we're going to shake their hand, win, lose, or draw, but also the officials, the scorers, and anybody that's involved in that game. And at the end of the day, it's a game and stakes are high. There's a lot of dollars on the line. There's a lot of pride on the line, trophies on the line at, college football playoffs and NFL playoffs, high school games, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's just a game. And it's kind of tough to say that because I spent so much of my time preparing and putting the cliche saying of blood, sweat, and tears into, being the best I could be to help my team. And, yeah, sportsmanship at the end of the day is what it's all about, and treating each other with mutual respect.
You can find him at B Ewing 34 and Brady Ewing on the socials. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. By the way, our mutual friend Rob Runish says I would throw Mike Leckrone on that because he was at all those events. Right? I like that. Well done. Thank you, Brady. We'll see you soon. Back with the Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin in the second hour.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. Jane Matt Nair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, we love to highlight Wisconsin businesses that are not involved.
Lieutenant Governor, thanks for joining us.
Hey, how are you?
Lieutenant Governor, how are you? I'm well, thank you. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year as well.
How's it been going for you so far?
Good. It was a good and uneventful New Year, so that's
All
good.
right.
That's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's always good to keep it chill, right?
Yeah.
All right, very good. I'm just going to step out, gotta get some water real quick. I'll be back. It'll be like 1 minute.
Sounds good. Aaron, is my audio okay?
Yeah, it
Okay.
sounds good. We're good.
All right. Perfect. Thanks.
Although I am going to try something. Oh. No, okay. All right. I was trying turning off the echo cancellation, but then I got an echo. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we're
Okay.
good.
Real news and great conversation. A civic media station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Winds in Southern California calmer today, but still posing a threat.
I just want to make sure I'm
next week.
respectful
Authorities
of your
confirmed
time. Do we have, so our first break is at the 19-minute mark, and the next one is at 28 after. Do we have you for both segments or just one, or what's your time frame?
I think just the one for the.
That's fine. Yep.
If that's okay.
Yep. Just want to make sure we hit our mark. Is there anything specifically you would like to make sure that we cover today?
I talk about the new legislature, the new maps, and how they've all gotten sworn in now. I think that's going to be important for people to understand. The upcoming election for Supreme Court, I think, is something that we need to talk about. And then, how we're going to make sure that we're putting legislation out there that helps Wisconsinites. That's what we want to be able to do.
Okay, sounds good. Do you want to touch on the governor's energy emergency declaration?
Yeah,
briefly,
we can
all
touch on that. Yeah,
All right.
briefly.
Just like people hear that, they're like, well, what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Did an analysis of data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They found that nationwide, norovirus test positivity.
So help me out, make sure I say it right. Was it one of your grandparents that had a dairy farm in Richland County?
Yeah, my maternal grandparents, had a dairy farm.
Virus just takes down a whole house one by one. We got it in the spring, and that's exactly what happened. Over the course of a couple days, the whole family.
I love any connection to Richland County as being that's
Yeah.
where I was born. So,
I love it. Yeah, it's great.
Other illnesses, but experts believe
it was back there. Actually, my mom was still there, so
Aw.
spent part of the holidays back there and chilling out a little bit.
Sure.
It's just serene, watch the hills and chill and have a cup of coffee.
Nobody has built up immunity to it yet. Meanwhile, there's also been a spike in respiratory illnesses, flu, COVID, and RSV in Wisconsin. The Department of Health Services says the state is seeing a high level of these bugs spreading. Respiratory disease epidemiologist Tom Haupt says more people are in the hospital for them too.
They're seeing increased hospitalizations for COVID, RSV, and flu.
Oh, do you mind if we get a Packer prediction out of you before we leave?
RSV is not
Oh, sure.
but it is on
All right.
a trajectory.
They expect this high spread to get
You know,
worse
people
before it gets
people want to
better. They
know.
think we'll see the peak spread of illness in
I
across
with our last
February.
segment, Brady
Only
Ewing, who's from
31%
Richland
of
Center, who
Wisconsinites
played for the
have shot,
Badgers.
and only
For
about
he was the captain of the
14% have an
team this
updated
last year with
COVID-19
Russell Wilson,
vaccine.
and
But officials say it's
then was
never
spent
too
3 years in
late
the
if you want
NFL,
to
so
get
he comes on
vaccinated
every
to
other
protect
Friday.
yourself and
So
around you.
he's predicting
Call your
a
doctor,
Packer
contact your
loss.
pharmacy,
I
or
was
reach out to
foolish
your
and
local
said
health department.
I'll be a
I'm
homer.
Savannah
I'll say the
Tomei
Packers
Wilson.
by a
You're
field
listening
goal.
to
So.
92.7
I love it.
Because we do have this new kicker who's actually pretty good.
He's amazing. He's
Right?
amazing.
So I think if the defense can hold him and get it tied, I have like a 55-yarder to win it. That's what we need.
It's all it is.
Played there several times when he was with the Giants.
It's a tough environment. It's loud. Obviously, the fans are like super rowdy. No, they got a good fan base. You know, they got fans that go hard for their team, and which they should. Yeah, it's a good environment for sure.
Basketball, the Badgers host Minnesota tonight. The Bucks are in Orlando against the Magic. Doc Rivers says when he brings in A.J. Green, it's not only for the three-point shot, but defense as well.
When we bring him in, we're bringing in another defensive player. We look at that, and I don't know if the other teams realize that. He is a terrific defensive player. He's competitive, he's tough, and he takes the right shot. So he's been fantastic for us.
That's Bucks head coach Doc Rivers. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
Mostly cloudy with high temperatures flirting with 30 degrees. Spotty snow showers are possible throughout the day, only putting down a trace. With some sunshine expected early tomorrow, we will see more snow pushing in overnight and through Sunday. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently, it's 28 degrees.
Been to Sugar River Pizza in Sun Prairie yet?
Yeah, it's
amazing.
Yeah, I know. I love the pizza.
Pizza is ridiculous. That crust.
Right, and they have
48 beers on tap and a great selection of wines.
And the atmosphere.
Not only is the restaurant gorgeous,
that room with the giant
windows that
Right,
open,
1 minute.
and
Thank you.
They won a Best of Madison Gold Award this year.
I love Sugar River
Pizza on Cabela Drive in Sun Prairie.
You took the words right out of my
mouth.
Yep, sugarriverpizza.com.
Oh, so you have heard of it.
The John and Gordy Show.
Costco is building apartments above its stores to address the affordable housing crisis.
$30 seconds.
Thank you.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Allbaugh, along with our outstanding producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program on this TGIF edition. It is Friday, January 10th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Welcome in, everyone, as we are here in downtown Madison, just on State Street, I should say. A couple of snowflakes flying around right now. Big second hour for you coming up a little bit later. Once again, another edition of What's Worse. This one has to do with planning, or lack thereof. We'll explain in a little while. But first of all, to kick off our hour, and what a big way to do it, Wisconsin's Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez joins us via StreamYard. Lieutenant Governor, Happy New Year. Good afternoon.
Happy New Year. I am also in Madison today. I do travel all around the state, but it's super pretty today with the snow. We haven't had too much snow yet in
Right.
Wisconsin.
I know for those that drive, whatever, thankfully, but also I know our ag producers are really hoping because they really need the moisture, and also our tourism, particularly in
Yep.
northern Wisconsin. The Birkenbinders coming up. We were up there last year. They had to haul in and make snow. They could really use some natural snow up there for Wisconsin tourism.
Absolutely. I know in Wisconsin we love to be outside. I certainly love to snowshoe and get outside as much as I can. And we do need some snow to be able to do that. So even though we do have to get out our shovels and our snow blowers at some point in time, it's still a whole lot of fun to get outside.
It really is. And of course, we've missed a lot of the worst of the weather, but just south of us, these big storms. And I wanted to
Right.
give you a chance just to talk about this for a moment. Governor Tony Evers declared an energy emergency in response to severe regional cold weather, noting in the executive order its impact on distribution of residential heating fuel. I think maybe some people hear, what the heck is the governor declaring an emergency when the worst of this is to our south? But this has an effect on how Wisconsinites get our energy and the cost thereof. Just tell folks a little bit why the governor did this, please.
So absolutely. So we know that we get fuel from all sorts of different areas within the country. And even if we're not having weather right here in Wisconsin, if it's close to us, it's going to be affecting some of our supply chains. And so what the governor did was declare this emergency because there are some federal and state rules about what time you can deliver types of fuel, how long you can be on the road to be able to do that. So it gives about 30 days for those fuel companies, for those folks who are going to be needing that type of energy fuel to heat their homes. It gives them a little bit of time to catch up with this weather event that we're having.
And it's also a huge break for one of my very good friends was a long haul truck driver for a long time, and I spent a week with him, and that was an education. And my understanding, this order also creates a 30-day waiver for state and federal restrictions on hours of service for carriers and drivers for transporting residential heating fuel. So it really helps out the distribution of that to Wisconsinites.
It does. All those hours of service, those are the types of regulations that I was talking about. So they can catch up, they can get the fuel where it needs to go, so nobody is without fuel when we have snow here in Wisconsin.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a busy week here. You can always tell when the new legislative session starts because the parking around the Capitol Square gets tougher. The coffee shops get fuller. The 2025 legislative session is off and running. Lieutenant Governor, what are your thoughts on this new legislature and the new session?
So I'm really excited about the new legislature. We have new maps. Many of you know we got rid of the gerrymandered maps, which means that they were tilted towards the Republicans. So the governor and I won in our last election a little over 3 percentage points. Yet we had a supermajority of Republicans in the Senate and almost a supermajority in the Assembly. What these new maps do is really reflect the voting patterns of Wisconsinites. So we're a whole lot closer in the Assembly and the Senate now. And what I'm really excited about for that is that it gives us an opportunity to do better work across the aisle. And you and I have talked about this before, but when I go all across the state, this is what I'm hearing from people is they just want us to work together for the benefit of Wisconsinites. They're exhausted with the partisanship. They just want to make sure that government works all across Wisconsin. And with these new maps, making sure they're a little bit more evenly divided, I think is going to go a long way towards what Wisconsinites want.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we've taken this show all over Wisconsin the last year. You and I have a little bit of a connection tangentially that I grew up in Richland Center, and you have maternal grandparents that were dairy farmers in Richland County. So, I mean, you get that part of the state. And I love living here in Madison now. Milwaukee is a great city. But I think your perspective, both from an urban place, but you also get and understand rural Wisconsin, and that excites me.
Yeah, so my grandparents had a dairy farm between Bosstown and Sugar Grove. So I'm sure you know where that is, but many of your listeners might not know where that is because it is a very, very small town. And so absolutely, I was just up there not that long ago. We still have family up there. So just went up there actually for a funeral to West Salem, Wisconsin, which is a little bit.
My condolences.
Thank you. But it was my godmother and my godfather. We went up there for that to be able to visit with them, and they had a farm right outside of West Salem. And so I do have a lot of connections to some of those more rural roots, and this is why I love Wisconsin so much, is because you can find that not very far out of the city. You can get out pretty quickly out of the city to find things to do, but also smaller cities.
It's one of the things that I people in this program know. I voted for you and Governor Evers. One of the things I really admire about you is your attitude. That hey, it's a positive attitude. We're going to find ways to work together. I know that a lot of legacy media, the sexy click things are to click on the things where we're divided. Are there areas that excite you moving into this legislative 2025 session where you feel that there are opportunities to work with Speaker Voss, with Leader Lemahue and the Republicans, and a close, still Republican leading, but a closer legislature?
Well, I mean, that's how we're going to have to get things through, right? So we've got a Democratic governor, and we've got a Republican Senate and a Republican Assembly. And so for us to be able to get things passed, for us to be able to do the things we need to do for Wisconsinites, we're going to have to work together. One of the areas that I also hear about all across Wisconsin is housing. And I know we got some really good legislation in the last legislative session to be able to address some of our housing needs. That is we need to continue to do more of that, because when I'm talking to people, when rents go up, when they're unable to afford their first home, this is such a pinch for families today. And we need to be able to address that with concrete policies to be able to make sure that people can have a roof over their heads, that they are able to put food on the table, and they're able to take care of their families. And these are the kind of things that are priorities for me, priorities for the governor. And I know our Republican colleagues are hearing it in their own districts as well.
One of the smartest things I've heard anybody at any level, any party say so far, because that's a real issue. Trigby Olson and I, who travel around the state, we hear you're right. It doesn't matter whether it's an Amory or Wausau or Green Bay or Milwaukee. Housing is something that that's a real thing that people are struggling with, that I agree there are opportunities to come together. One place that might not be so coming together, Wisconsinites, I think, are sick and tired of elections. $50 million in the last state Supreme Court race where Janet Protasewicz won. Hang on to our seatbelts. It could top $100 million. There's another one coming up, but elections have consequences. Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez, this one's important.
It's very, very important. We've got a Supreme Court race coming up in April, and this will determine the makeup of the court, just like the last election determined the makeup of the court. So if Wisconsinites are interested in making sure that they want to keep these fair maps that we have now in Wisconsin, if they want to make sure that we are allowing women to make decisions about their bodies, which is the abortion law would be on the ballot again, they have to make sure that they're voting, and who I'm voting for is Susan Crawford, because she's going to make sure that we have fair maps. She's going to make sure that we are applying the law appropriately in terms of the abortion law. And that's what I'm looking forward to coming up for this April, is to make sure that people understand the consequences of this election as well.
And we talked about this on this show earlier. I mean, I know you have an affinity for and respect for law enforcement in this state, around the country as well. But here's a guy, as a former Republican myself, who left the party in 2011. Here's a guy, Schimmel, on the Republican side, conservative side, who comes out earlier or last week defending January 6th defendants who are insurrectionists. That doesn't add up to back the blue to me. I have people in my family who are great law enforcement people, and it's a bit ironic that Schimmel's out there saying, well, let's let the people that attacked our law enforcement on the streets.
I do too. I have law enforcement in my family, and that is something it's appalling to me that he would defend that type of behavior. We saw all those videos. We saw what happened on January 6th and how many police officers were injured that day and died after that particular event. We can't forget that happened. This was a violent act. And to be able to defend that type of behavior and those illegal acts, I think is disqualifying.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And of course, I have a personal interest in him going to court and trying to suppress votes back in 2015, 2016. That's just something else that I think is, in my opinion, disqualifying.
Mhm.
Maybe that's him as a rebut right now. No, it was. It was
He's
not.
calling. He's
Right.
calling.
Apologize for that. Lieutenant Governor, big game coming up to turn the page for a second.
Yes.
I know you're a cheerleader for Wisconsin. The Packers traveling to Philadelphia. Any thoughts on the big game on Sunday?
I would never bet against the Packers. I mean, I am going to say they're going to win. Maybe we should put $1 on it. I don't know. That's the only amount that I bet. I'm going to guess they win by 3.
Well, see, we're right on the same page. I said in the last segment with Brady Ewing, because this new kicker we have actually can kick. It's like I'm old enough to remember Chris Jackie. I mean, that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, no, we have a great kicker. We've got a good quarterback, and we've got really good young talent on our team. And so, they've been doing well. I was very disappointed in the last game, but
the Bears.
Oh, the Bears! I know, but I have full faith that they are going to pull it out and they're going to win this next game. And they have such a bright future ahead of them for the next couple of seasons as they kind of get some seasoning, they get some more experience, and I love to watch them. We watch them all the time.
Well, we appreciate you making time for us. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez. Thanks for doing a great job for our state. Welcome back to this program anytime, and have a great rest of the month of January.
All right. Thank you. You too.
All right. Thanks a lot. Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, we thank her. We'll come back with What's Worse after this on the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
You may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy, or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Attention. If you suffer from consistent pain in your joints caused by arthritis, overuse, or injury, you may be a candidate for a revolutionary therapy that could revitalize damaged tissue. This approach can provide long-lasting relief from pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, and other joints with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. To find out if you're a viable candidate, you may request a free consultation from QC Kinetics by calling 608-384-0897. Instead of masking the symptoms, it goes to the root of the problem to resolve it at its source. Already used by thousands of satisfied patients nationwide, this joint pain therapy is available right now to the public, but only for qualified candidates. Again, to find out if you're a viable candidate for this therapy, you may request a free
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along. Well, that's a pretty good show so far, Mr. Zommer. It's got Brady Ewing, got Lieutenant Governor. Not bad at all. Now, see, I'm not sure whether, now, which is better? The fact that Brady Ewing, a former NFL player, is saying the Packers are going to lose by 7, or the fact that I'm on board with the Lieutenant Governor that the Packers are going to win by 3.
Is that what's worse? Is that what we're asking?
Right? And you found out the line is, the line in the desert, as Brett Musburger likes to say, is Eagles by 5.5.
That's what it said on CBS.
I'm slightly surprised that it's that close.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. So I'll stick Packers by 3. I'm with the Lieutenant Governor on this. Many thanks to Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, to Brady Ewing for being with us on a Friday. All right, it is 22 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock on a Friday. Time once again for What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. But of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get with that.
Time once again for What's Worse. No prize money involved, nothing to win here, but it is your chance to have your voice heard across statewide radio, the largest privately held statewide radio network in Wisconsin. Only one big was Wisconsin Public Radio, which is great, of course, but they're public.
It's in the name.
It's literally in the name. We're in all the major media markets, and we're so happy to be there. We're happy to have all of you along with us. All right, here's the Friday edition. And this cuts right to Todd's personality. What's worse, an obsessive planner or someone who doesn't plan at all? What's worse, an obsessive planner or someone who doesn't plan at all? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842, or you can text us on the Civic Media app. You can download it at your Apple or Android device. Simply go to your app store, type in Civic Media on the search bar there, Civic, C-I-V-I-C, Media. It'll pop up a cute little CM logo. You click on that. Takes less than a minute. It's free. It's what Gail King at CBS calls a deal. Gail King just celebrated 13 years at CBS News this week.
Impressive.
Right? And I remember the first day she was there. And she has a dress. It's a yellow is her favorite color. It's a yellow and white dress. And she has worn that same dress on the anniversary for 13 years. I mean, think about that. She can still fit into it. She still keeps herself fit and doing a great job over there. Gail King at CBS. Congratulations.
Also impressive, yeah.
Not that she cares I'm congratulating her, but congratulations
nonetheless.
Yeah. All right, what's worse? Somebody who is an obsessive planner or someone who doesn't plan at all? What's worse? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Our ongoing contributor and friend, Jeff Perry, watching on Facebook, says, someone who doesn't plan at all is worse. I would rather have Leslie Conup. Is it Conup?
Leslie Nope.
Nope. Is it just Nope? In charge than Kramer.
Yeah, Leslie Nope from Parks and Rec.
Yes. See, I'm kind of, it depends on what it is. For some things, I'll obsessively plan. If it's an event, right? But my day-to-day life, I don't always, I'm more of a bit of a free spirit.
For me, in this question, obsessive is the key word. Because
Right.
a thorough planner,
Right.
great. An obsessive planner, not so great.
Dana, listening in La Crosse, says, as a guy that is very bad at making plans, I can say that I am indeed the worst. Well, don't be too tough on yourself, Dana. Matt Middleton, listening on MDX, says, if you're in a relationship with them, the over planner is the worst. Constant discussions about scheduling ruined my marriage. Oh, jeez. I'm sorry, Matt, but I also kind of, I empathize a little bit, right? I think it's a balance. Like I say, I'll plan some things, but not others. And sometimes I do better with someone who says, I have a friend, Carrie. I don't know if I call her an obsessive planner, but she had known her since high school. She's a wonderful planner. And when we're getting together or we hang out, she'll say, now, Todd, now, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. Now, what are we going to do? Here's your choice, this or that. And she has it all planned out. And it's fantastic because I can just, I'm like, great, let's do that. Boom, done. But again, if we're going to go, if I'm going somewhere specifically, a concert or whatever, I'll say, well, let's make sure we have reservations to eat there, this. But as I go through life, I'm not always a great planner. 855-752-4842. Sherry, listening in Horicon. Sherry, what's worse, obsessive planner or someone who doesn't plan at all?
I would say what's worse. Okay, so I was raised in a family of planners. My dad was a professor. My mom was totally planned everything. And then I married a man that was in a family that never planned. We were married 23 years. He became a little bit more of a planner. But my problem is the people that want to over plan, or you plan something and then they don't even show up or call or nothing.
Well, that's the worst.
That is the worst.
Yeah, when they plan it and then don't show up.
No, I mean, like, you're planning it and people say they're going to be coming and then they don't show up and don't contact you.
Right.
That's rude.
Yeah, I agree.
We have a lot of rudeness in this world anymore.
See, now you're getting into one of my pet peeves. It's rudeness, because 9 times out of 10 we can determine whether we're going to be rude or not. That's, in my opinion, that's a choice.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So, all right. Well, nicely done, Sherry.
Thank you for your show. Great question.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the call, Sherry. What's worse, an obsessive planner or someone who doesn't plan at all? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Off of the YouTube there, KTEL RJ says...
Roger from Stevens Point.
Oh, it's Roger from Stevens Point. Oh, listening on WFHR, great station in Rapids. Says, what's worse? Someone who doesn't plan at all. However, a spur-of-the-moment plan works out perfectly sometimes. See, I'm kind of a spur-of-the-moment person. So I'll say, you know what? It's a beautiful day. Let's go do this. Or whatever. But I don't know. What do you think, Zombers? What's worse?
I think I will tell everyone after the break.
Oh, look how sneaky he is. Come on back. We'll find out. It's the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media's Radio Network.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. This is your local civic media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. A study published this week showed there are additional ways PFAS is getting into drinking water. With more, here's Civic Media's Jimmy Kuska.
A study on PFAS in wastewater shows an increase in the so-called forever chemicals, a concerning trend as nearly half of all drinking water in the U.S. is contaminated with PFAS. Scientists said that some of the factors for the increase include use of the chemicals in medication and the effects of drought on local water systems. Without natural water to dilute chemicals in wastewater, PFAS concentrations can be higher.
Waterways all over Dane County are confirmed to have PFAS present, especially Lake Monona, Starkweather Creek, Lake Wabisa, the Yahara River, and other downstream lakes and rivers. And one of the girls responsible for Wisconsin's infamous Slender Man stabbing will be let out of her psychiatric facility. In Waukesha in 2014, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire nearly stabbed their friend to death to please the fictional character. They were 12. Both girls pleaded guilty to attempted homicide and were found to have mental health issues. They were sent to a psychiatric hospital. Wire was released in 2021 and ordered to wear a GPS monitor. A judge has now ruled Geyser is no longer a safety risk and can be released as well. Now the next step is to come up with a release and supervision plan. And there's a Wisconsin connection to the wildfires raging in California. Lisa Hale has the story from the northeastern part of the state.
Kristen Crowley, the chief of the Los Angeles Fire Department, is a Green Bay native. Crowley said the fire in Palisades is, quote, one of the most destructive natural disasters in the history of Los Angeles, end quote. What started as a 10-acre fire has grown to cover well over 10,000 acres.
Go check
Strong Santa Ana winds are blamed for the spread. Crowley's been with the LAFD for 25 years, and in 2022, she was made the first female chief in the department's 135-year history.
I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. You're listening to 92.7 WMDX News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Due to the LA wildfires and the devastation they brought, actress Jean Smart says award shows should be tabled. The two-time Golden Globe winner and star of Hacks says award shows should not be televised and that all the revenue that the telecasts would have brought in should be donated to fire victims. Smart said going forward with the shows is a bad look for the entertainment industry. Keeping with the theme, the Oscars seem to be getting the message. According to Variety, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences says voting will be
on
delayed
YouTube.
for
Houston
this year's
Cougar
awards.
says, "Go
Voting for the
Texans."
various categories starts
we
January
could talk
8th,
about
and the
that
new deadline
big
will be
game tonight
January
for the
14th
Texans.
instead of January 12th. As a result, they will push the announcement of nominations back 2 days as well to January 19th. Still way too early just to see how the fires will continue to affect everyone in Southern California. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
Mostly cloudy and rather mild today, with high temperatures flirting with 30 degrees. Spotty snow showers are possible throughout the day, only putting down a trace. With some sunshine expected early tomorrow, we will see more snow pushing in overnight and through Sunday. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently, it's 28 degrees.
Skilled trade workers are the backbone of every community, and also the Army National Guard. Soldiers trained to keep the power flowing, engines running, and in every other trade needed to accomplish the mission. These soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking.
30 seconds.
Now
All right.
start screening. For an easy...
I'm going to send you something. I'm not sure we'll get to it today or not. I forgot
Okay.
to send this earlier. Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 now past the hour of 1 o'clock on this Friday, January 10th, 2025. Glad to have you along. Zommers on the board. Todd behind the mic. What's worse, an obsessive planner or someone who does not plan at all? Len in Madison, listening on WMDX, says, kind of like what's worse, someone who is proactive or someone who is reactive. Then he says, gives the old quote, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And a failure to plan is a plan for failure, unquote. Thank you, Len, listening in Madison. If you'd like to weigh in, give us a call, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842, or you can also text us on the Civic Media app like Len did. What's worse, an obsessive planner or someone who doesn't plan at all? As I said, I'm a little bit of both. If it's for, Zommers, if we have a special guest or a show or, when it comes to things for the show, I plan quite a bit because I want things to go well. I like to know where things are going. If it's just like in my everyday life, I don't have, if I'm going to get together with friends, we might say, oh, we're going to go eat there. But I don't have every minute planned out.
Yeah, I think.
So how about you? What's worse?
I think we're similar in that way. You just have more experience at planning to make things actually happen. Where I can plan for events that I need to plan for, but the everyday life just kind of happens.
Yeah.
So I'm closer to someone who doesn't plan at all, I would say.
All right.
My feelings are a little complicated though, because as somebody who used to not plan at all, like I know that I was the worst at that time. I'm better now, but
so you're improving.
Some of my friends are closer to the obsessive planner range. And I think what it all comes down to is people who don't plan at all are worse most of the time. But an obsessive planner who gets so upset when their plans don't work out perfectly that they derail the whole thing is worse.
Yeah, yes. Yes, people are like, it has to go this way, this way, this way. If it doesn't, the whole day is ruined. Yeah, that's a little overboard. in my opinion. Well, still weigh in if you want. What's worse? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842, an obsessive planner or someone who does not plan at all. Want to do a little cleanup at the end of the week here. A couple of stories we haven't gotten to yet. One of them in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel today, great columnist Daniel Bice. And we talked about the Supreme Court race coming up here in April earlier this week. We did, 90 minutes almost on Brad Schimmel and his positions, we'll call them. I mean, the guy goes on conservative talk radio last week and starts defending the January 6th insurrectionists. As Lieutenant Governor, talked about earlier, just makes it disqualifying. But here now from Daniel Bice. Headline, Brad Schimmel boasts he gets a private bathroom and sets his own hours as a judge. Bice writes, there are a lot of reasons someone might like to be judge. You get to decide major issues of importance to the public. You do intellectually stimulating work while meting out justice. You protect a community from those prone to do harm. All good reasons. But Waukesha County Circuit Judge Brad Schimmel has his own, let's say, bottom line explanation for why he likes his job. Schimmel, a former Republican Attorney General, is running for the state Supreme Court against liberal Dane County Circuit Judge Susan Crawford in the April 1st election. Quote, the circuit judge gig is nice. The circuit judge gig is nice, Schimmel told Dyron Wire, a conservative online news outlet for northern Wisconsin. He said, Schimmel said, quote, we have a private bathroom. Seriously, it's under Supreme Court rules. We have to have a private bathroom. I think that's crazy. I'm not giving it up. And of course, it says here in the story, Bice writes they both grin. Bice says certainly part of the reason for the setup is that judges not run into witnesses, defendants, or attorneys while taking a bathroom break in the middle of a hearing or trial. But Schimmel suggested there are other perks to being a judge than having your own potty. Quote, you set your own hours. I set the hours. Certainly, I've got to get my cases done, but I can decide. You know what? If you want to go golf on a Thursday afternoon, I can do that, unquote. The same, Schimmel said, is not true for lawyers who have to show up in court when told to do so. He said he doesn't misuse that power, and he said there are times he's had to work all day and into the evening, but that appears to be the exception. Quote from Schimmel, I'm home for dinner most nights now. I shoot in 2 sporting clay leagues, or I was until I made this announcement to run for the state Supreme Court. I was shooting in 2 shooting clay leagues a week. I was doing all of this and playing in band rehearsals, unquote. And it goes on to talk about he belongs to the Waukesha Gun Club. I mean, really? Is this the guy we want to send to the Wisconsin State Supreme Court who brags about having his own bathroom and only working when he wants to? Scheduling court cases. I mean, people, the circuit courts is hard work if you do it right. You're deciding where kids go in divorces, lawsuits, people's lives. And this guy's bragging about the fact, Schimmel, that, we'll schedule that around my golf game, around my clay pigeon shooting. I mean, I think it's nuts. Jeff Perry, our ongoing contributor on Facebook, asks, does each civic media host have their own private bathroom? I can tell you the definitive answer is no, Mr. Perry.
Nobody at Civic Media has a private bathroom, unless you count the bathroom at their house.
We have one toilet that doesn't even flush properly. Because it's like WKRP. It's next to a recording studio, so it can't be too loud. So they decreased the flow, and now when you tinkle, you got to flush it 2 or 3 times. You open the lid up, and it's yellow in there.
And you got to hold down the handle the whole time for those 2 or 3 times.
Am I making that up?
No.
Thank you.
It's bad.
855-752-4842. Mark from Prairie du Sac. What's worse, my friend? A person who's an obsessive planner or someone who plans all doesn't plan at all?
Well, first off, Brad Schimmel is a twerp, and this is not precise, but I mean, back years ago they had that so I was in state service, and these various surveys you had to do on these the courses you had to go to, and there was one where it required you to have people survey what kind of personality type you were, and you had to people outside that in your personal life and people in your work life you had to have to do the surveys for. Well, for me, it turned out the people in my professional life thought I was very inflexible, and the people in my personal life thought I was very flexible. Well, I was an accountant, so you had to be very strict in terms of what you can and cannot do with the books. And so the people that I worked with in the office had always very, very inflexible when it came to that. But people in my personal life thought I was very flexible. So I mean that. So my personal life, I didn't have to plan a whole lot, and I was single at the time, but in my professional life, I had to plan things out to get things done. And,
see, I think you're like a lot. You're kind of like me. That it depends on what it is. Some things you plan out really well, and other things you kind of like take as they come.
Yep, that's how it goes. And when you're retired, you don't need to plan for anything.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842, and up at beautiful Chippewa Falls, listening on WCFW, The Tap. And what's worse, an obsessive planner or someone who doesn't plan at all?
Well, I'm not a planner at all, but I love my planners. Don't get me wrong. I love the people that plan, but the obsessive planners,
right?
I feel like they're never living in the now. They're always planning, and when things don't go their way when they're planning, they get a little uptight. So I have never been a planner, which I try to work on that, but I always show up. If someone's planning, I do show up.
Right. No, I think you nailed it. Zomer said it earlier. Adding obsessive in there. I think that's the key to this. Whether obsessive planners versus somebody who doesn't plan at all. Because you're right. As someone who's not always a great planner in my private life, I kind of like being around people that say, "Well, this is what we're going to do. Great, let's do it." But people who are obsessed and have the whole day down to the minute, that gets crazy.
Right. And people do that with their lives,
right.
And things don't always turn out perfect when you always plan. Although I do like planners because they're the ones that are on the trips. They're the ones that are doing all the fun things because they actually went ahead and planned it, which I don't do, so I stay home.
Right? There is something for that. Absolutely, there's something for that. And thank you so much for calling in. Have a great day. Appreciate your listenership up there at beautiful Chippewa Falls. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. What's worse, an obsessive planner or someone who doesn't plan at all? Or how about this Attorney General candidate, Brad Schimmel, who likes to boast about having a private bathroom and scheduling court around his clay pigeon shooting and his golf game? And there's pictures. I mean, he has a band apparently as well. It appears this guy likes to do everything but be judge. I mean, I don't know.
Good on him for having a personal life, but
sure.
When you're trying to campaign to be a Supreme Court justice,
right?
It's not the time.
And bragging, to me, less than having the private bathroom is bragging about the fact that he schedules his court dates for his court. And when you're a judge, people don't understand that when you're a judge, judges have tremendous amount of latitude at any level. But this guy appears to be bragging about, not wanting to work too much. Or maybe he's a great clay pigeon shooter. I don't know. I never spent a lot of time with the guy. What's worse, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Go up to Port Edwards. Rob, listening on WRCE. Rob, thanks for calling. What's worse, an obsessive planner or someone who doesn't plan at all?
In my 50 years of professional life, I had to be a planner. I was in the skilled trades and management. And everything you do, you kind of got to figure it out ahead of time and make sure you have the stuff and the people and you have access to the things. And so I'm really a very, very good planner. Now I'm going to take the needle and rip it sideways across the LP. I'm a fabulous a circa cum laude procrastinator. I have lists and I have priorities. And
Right?
oh my golly whoppers! I'm loaded. The gun's loaded.
Now, here, as a fellow
But
procrastinator,
not getting to it.
can I ask you, doesn't it sometimes get justified, though? Because sometimes things just fix themselves if you don't do anything.
Bingo. Have a great day, gentlemen. Have a wonderful weekend.
Appreciate it, Rob. Listening to Port Edwards there. Appreciate it so very much. See, a man after my own heart.
Sometimes, yeah. And other times, if you, I hate to say this and admit this, also a huge procrastinator. Sometimes if you, and again, I try to do this just in my personal life, not my work life. Sometimes if you give yourself up until the last minute,
right,
you do a better job.
Well, because I'm an ADHD person, and so that's one of the traits that we work better under really tight deadlines. We stress a lot, but that's the way your brain is wired. So you put things off until it has to be done, then you stress about doing it, but then it gets done.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's not a good thing to have other people around you having to put up with that, though. What's worse, an obsessive planner or someone who doesn't plan at all? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. All right, I think we beat Brad Schimmel enough for one day on his private toilet and scheduling his court around his claim. But a great article, by the way, by Daniel Bice in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. There's more on that, so check that one out at the MilwaukeeJournalSentinel.com. I don't want to get into
it's jsonline.com is the website.
Thank you, js.com.
jsonline.com.
Yep, that's I'm sorry. Thank you for keeping me honest. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this when we come back, but people say, well, how could people vote a certain way? Well, as we've talked at length before on this show, when you get into an information silo, you get some kind of distorted ideas. I'm going to give you an example of that, an audio example. Big name right now in media, Joe Rogan. He and Mel Gibson got together for a chat. Come on back. We're going to play it for you. See what you think. It's the Allbaugh Show for a Friday on the Civic Media Radio Network. I listened to this. I'm 99.9% sure there's no swears in it.
I'll go over it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, thank you.
Wait a second. I don't get this. Here in Dane County, we have Oregon south of Madison, and Brooklyn is south too. Whoever wrote this has their directions messed up. But don't you worry. The Aaron Weber Group has the compass and will find you your way home. The Aaron Weber Group, powered by Compass. Go to movetomadison.com.
Blind Shot Social Club, a perfect blend of cool, casual dining, indoor golf with space for events, craft cocktails, and non-alcoholic drinks too. A hidden gem on Madison's east side. Blind Shot Social Club, open to everyone. BlindShotSocialClub.com.
Hey, it's family time at Chula Vista with the right kind of fun for everyone. Wisconsin's most complete resort experience has everything you want. Fine-tuned for 70 years by 4 generations of the Kaminsky family. Chula Vista can be easygoing with colorful scenic river walks, a rejuvenating spa visit, relaxing at outdoor fire pits, or you can go all out in 80,000 square feet of indoor water park and outdoors with cross-country skiing, sledding, and snowshoeing. Dining comes any way you like it, from pizza to Wisconsin's #1 ranked steakhouse. More than 600 guest rooms to choose from with $10 million in up.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, where it is 9 before the hour of 2 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC or CBS Radio News, depending upon which of our great stations across Wisconsin you're listening to, followed by a sports update with the fantastic Mike Clemens as he previews that. Well, first of all, a Wisconsin basketball men's game tonight against the Golden Gophers. You can hear it on select stations across Civic Media and on the Civic Media app if you dial in Amory, Wisconsin Rapids, Racine, Kenosha, and Richland Center on the RCE side in Richland Center. Pregame show starts at 5 o'clock. The Golden Gophers taking on Wisconsin. And, of course, Mike is following the Green Bay Packers as they head out to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles again on the radio in Richland Center, Park Falls, and Kenosha, Racine at 1 o'clock for the pregame show. Kickoff at 3. You can watch it on the Fox network. The Packers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And then, of course, we got a little weather for you, followed by the Maggie Dawn Show every afternoon between 2 and 4. Maggie Dawn, followed by Dom Salvia Show. And then Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, Rick Smith Across America, and Robert Pilot and Native Roots Radio. Great evening, afternoon, and evening of entertainment and information right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. So, Joe Rogan, a name that a lot of people are familiar with, very successful, if not the number one podcast in America right now.
Is.
Certainly more conservative. A lot of people harped on Vice President Harris for not going on his show. Trump went on there for 2 or 3 hours. And it's not a political show per se. They talk about a lot of different stuff, but he's become very influential. And again, I'm not going to dwell on this, but when people say, how could we have gotten the results that we got when I know that X is fact, X meaning not like X Twitter, but pick a subject. Like I know that this is factual. How can people say it's not true? I want to give you just a slice of what Joe Rogan's show is like. He had on recently Mel Gibson, actor, who's gone right-wing, cuckoo birds, anti-Semitic, quite the character. Joe Rogan interviewing Mel Gibson on his podcast, and Mel Gibson starts talking about people he knows that have stage 4 cancer and what they did. Here's Joe Rogan.
I'll tell you a good story.
Okay. Starts with Mel Gibson. Here we go.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all. And they had some serious stuff going on.
And what did they take?
Jesus. They took some, what you've heard they've taken.
Ivermectin.
Fenbendazole.
Fenbendazole, yeah.
That's
I'm hearing that a lot.
They drank hydrochloride something or other.
There's studies on that now where people have proven that
people drinking methylene blue and stuff like that.
Yeah, methylene blue, which was a fabric dye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a textile dye. And now they find out it has profound effects on your mitochondria.
Yep.
Yeah.
This stuff works, man.
There's a lot of stuff that does work, which is very strange because, again, it's profit. When you hear about things that are demonized and that turn out to be effective, you always wonder, well, what is going on here? How is our medical institutions, how have they failed us so that things that do cure you are not promoted because they're not profitable?
Joe Rogan and Mel Gibson. We should have played this earlier because there's so much to unpack here. You see how they talk about this stuff, though? They talk about it very calmly. But if you watch him on the video of this, the look on Mel Gibson's face, like,
big wide eyes.
Big wide, it's the stuff. It's the stuff people talk about. Ivermectin, horse pills that Trump was peddling during COVID.
And still does.
And fenobrusolol, or what the hell it's called.
As somebody who's worked as a pharmacy technician and has talked to a lot of doctors and pharmacists and asked about all this kind of stuff, none of this works. Not only is it not approved by the FDA, it physically cannot treat cancer or COVID. And why would one medication treat both anyway?
Blue dye.
Yeah, don't drink
that.
Don't
do that stuff, you guys. But I played it for you to help us understand when people say, how could people vote a certain way? Or how could people have certain opinions? Because The Joe Rogan program, I've not listened to a lot of it. I've listened just enough to say I'm familiar with it. It can be very engaging for some people. And the sincerity that you just heard there. And people, well, geez, it's all conspiracy. Everybody's out to get us. Just, again, I ask you all, use the wisdom and common sense that God gave you and that your parents and grandparents taught you and weigh it against your when you hear stuff like this, weigh it against your common sense. When I saw that and heard that, I'm just like, oh my gosh. It's just, it's something.
It sure is.
I'll say that. Oh, that's kind of a weird way to end the show's hours, but I just thought, as you go through your weekend, be careful what you listen to, I guess. Any big plans for the weekend?
Not really.
You're just gonna
except
chill.
for the Civic Media holiday party tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that already.
Well, this is your reminder.
Thank you. It's on the calendar. I'm not planning very well. That's my problem. No, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. I'll play anybody in Pac-Man, and we'll see what happens. Hope all of you have a great weekend as well. Again, Wisconsin Badger men's basketball tonight, taking on the Golden Gophers. Pregame time on Civic Media's network at 5 p.m. Good luck to Wisconsin Badgers. And then on Sunday, I'm saying it. The Packers win as time expires on a field goal. Packers taking on the Eagles. The game kicks off at 3 o'clock on Fox, the pregame show on select Civic Media stations. We hope one of yours has been selected at 1 o'clock here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Great week. Many thanks to Brady Ewing, Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, Zommers, and all of you for listening. Stay tuned for Maggie Dawn. Todd Allbaugh saying, whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. And go Pack Go. See you Monday.
Keep banging on your drum, and they will hear you.
All right, everybody. Thank you. We appreciate your viewership, your listenership. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.
I will say, according to Mayo Clinic,
here,
methylene
stick
blue-
around. Here's some facts for you.
Methylene blue is injected into certain patients to treat methemoglobinemia, a condition that, quote, occurs when the blood cannot deliver oxygen where it is needed in the body, unquote. There are clinical trials underway to use it as a mouthwash for increasing oral intake and relieving pain in patients with oral mucositis related to cancer and or cancer treatments. So, but you don't drink it?
You don't drink it to cure cancer.
Yeah,
That's
no.
the point. So
Also, have fun with your horse dewormer. Have a good weekend.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.